Okay, another day. Bit of walking before the stepper, and then what looks like today is shaping up to be a bit of an arms day. I don't typically train arms because they are predisposed to putting on a little bit more size faster or quicker than everything else. Whatever that is, doesn't really matter, that's what it is. So what I'll talk about today, I mentioned a few videos back a bunch of positive things that are good for you, and they all sort of seem to start with S, like sex, sun, sunlight, salt, sleep, steaks, strength, that kind of stuff. And someone reached out on Instagram, thanks David, and asked if there was like a thing, like a reverse version of that. So if there was anything that I thought was not so good, not good for you, things you should avoid or keep out of your daily routine and whatever. So I kind of came up with a few, and within the theme of the starting with S, stuck with a bunch of S's there too. I think I got 6 or 7 of them off the top of my head. So the first one I wanted to mention was overall, I think this is probably the biggest one, and I call this one just sadness. Okay, wallowing in things that are the lows in life absolutely gets you nowhere. Everything with a low must have a high. There's a universal law about balance, highs and lows, yin and yang. I've talked about this a little bit before briefly, and I really am a true believer in this. I've lived across a few different countries and continents and found that there's a lot of similarities in cultures that believe in this kind of stuff that's just not quite in the West. In the West, that holistic approach, that natural, I don't want to say hippie version of things, but living amongst the ground, amongst the light, amongst fresh fruit, vegetables, land, tends to get pushed away because of, well, the big ... companies and whatever, they do what they do. And sadness is one of those things. It comes without light, there is no dark. Without dark, there is no light. You wouldn't know what sadness was if you hadn't experienced joy. Those two are two complete opposites, and they go together. Without one, the other one does not exist, okay? Sadness is something we all go through. It's something you got to get through. So I always have had sadness, but I don't sit there and wallow in it. Sometimes something drastic happens, it happens. You go through it, you grieve, you go through, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, whatever it is, but you don't stay there. And the one thing I would recommend is when you're in those lows, those moments, don't overemphasize them. Don't like blow them up to be something that they don't need to be, even if they are. Because remember, your mind's always going to not really 100% know whether something is true or not if you really believe in it. So if you're really wallowing in something and you're really truly believing what it is, that it is essentially just a thought, which means it's not real, it's not existing in this world, it is inside of you, inside of your mind. Doesn't mean that your thoughts aren't real, you're having them, but they're not true in existence. You don't need to put so much emphasis on them. So sadness, be aware of your sadness, the level of your sadness, why you're sad. You can quite easily flip your sadness into something better, not necessarily all the way to joy, but something better than the level you're at. And if you're in level 5 sadness, go to level 3 or 2. 1 or 0 would be great, but anyway, sadness is one of those things. Had to check my phone there, wrote them down. The next one is sugar. It's pretty self-explanatory and simple, that the average person is taking on an added, I think it's something like 15 to 20 teaspoons of extra sugar That's not the sugar included in things like fruit, but extra sugar, like extra added on top of the already highly processed sugar diet most of us are taking part in. So getting rid of sugar as best you can. I am not clean of this myself. I am not a super strict non-sugar type person. I'm just saying that keep an eye on it. Try and restrict it as much as you can. Try not to add any sugars to things that you don't need to. Sometimes you'll find yourself just in a habit. I add honey to my coffee, which is a form of sugar, but it's not like the granuled sugar from a spoon, right? So I get my sweetness from there. I would typically eat that tablespoon, sorry, I should say, I would eat a tablespoon of honey every day anyway. So what I do is I put a teaspoon in my mouth immediately, and then I put the other teaspoon in the coffee there, dissolve through, stir it through. So there's that. The lack of sleep is also another big one, but I guess I touched on that as being a positive. Sleep is a positive, but I feel like I needed to mention lack of sleep. It doesn't matter how much training you do in the gym, and it really is irrelevant what your diet is like. If sleep is not optimized, if sleep is not at the level that it should be. Sleep is kind of like the glue. It's like the building blocks, the foundation. It's the first thing on top. Really got to try and work on that. A couple of supplements you can have that can help you sleep. Magnesium is one of them. Different types of magnesium, so check those out. That's an easy Google. You don't need me for that. Inositol, I think is how they pronounce it. Inositol, glycine. There's a few little bits and pieces you can check out. Staying hydrated with salt as well helps you sleep, helps your body recover and do what it needs to do during that part. So sadness, sugar, lack of sleep. And what else have I got in here? All right, snacking. Not one of those things people think you need to do, because all that does is upset your cortisol, your hormones, by creating all these little bits and pieces that your body doesn't need to really necessarily have to do that many times per day, so that it doesn't get into a regular state. I only will have liquid, soft, and then solid meals. One of those per day. I may have a snack if I'm not feeling so good. If my blood sugar is low or my energy levels are low because I've done too much the day before, slept poorly, something like that, I'll have a little snack. So maybe 2-3 snacks or snack meals per week is about that. That's kind of high for me. So no snacks. It's not breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. Not for us. Maybe for some others that are doing certain things like training a lot for sport, bodybuilding, stuff like that. Not for us. That is not us at all. The other one is sitting down. Sitting down creates a lot of issues. The body needs movement and flow, okay? Blood needs to go. It's called blood flow for a reason, right? It needs to go and move and do stuff. Oxygenized blood goes to places, does what it does. I don't need to explain that stuff. That's pretty basic stuff. Everybody understands this. But if you're not moving and it's sedentary, and you're being sedentary, so is the blood, okay? It does have some flow, but it's not in a movement based. You won't have movement with your body. So taking steps, which is one of the S's I think I talked about in the positives, increases blood flow, right? Sitting does not. So sitting down tightens muscles. It creates extremely poor posture. It's been proven for a long time now. No matter really how much sitting you do, in what position or what you use to sit, you're always going to get some poor posture out of that. That's just standard. Speaking of, I'm in poor posture as we speak. But I don't sit like this. I don't sit very much at all either. You'll see in the next series of videos where I'll be doing from the office. I have a sit and stand desk So you'll see that I stand a lot while I work. The thing just pops up and down with a little push of a button. So yeah, more of that stuff, the better. Okay, check this terrible memory this morning. Just kind of wrote these down real quick. Stress. Okay. Stress, surface, and self. The last three. Stress is something that you can't really get rid of. Okay, it's going to happen. It essentially is something that we have created in our minds for, it's another word, I think, stress, for overthinking, for worrying. There's already existing with, but stress just seems so much worse because we know stress is a killer. It's a silent killer, the biggest silent killer. Stress creates and causes a lot of these other diseases that a majority of us know are the biggest leading causes to death or illness for both of, or for most of us. But if you're anxious, cool, be anxious, then stop, right? If you're nervous, be nervous, then stop. If you're worried, be worried, and then stop. Eventually, those type of feelings go away. And we associate the word stress to those instead of using the correct words, which can be stopped or can ease or can finish at some point. We have this thing where stress is always in us. Thinking I'm stressed creates stress. Therefore, the stress can never end. Therefore, I'm constantly under stress, fear. This FOMO bullshit people talk about, this fear-driven campaigns that TV and media do for us. They're not needed. Stress is a response to life and death, to serious bits and pieces that happen in your life that, evolutionarily speaking, have happened to us as humanoids for a long, long time. Still in us. The response is still in us. But there's no lions chasing us anymore. You know, we're not really in fear of starving to death for most of us anymore. We have readily accessible food. We have a blanket to sleep under, someone to care about us for the most part. It makes you in the top 5-10% of the richest people in the world if you have. I think that's very most basic things. So yeah, I'm not worrying too much about stress. I'm not a big believer. I don't like to use the word too much. And the word that I do use, stress, I'm talking about physical stress, like the stress of a structure or the stress on a muscle. But mentally, nah. I can be stressed, but it ends. I am not a stressed person all the time. Self, the next S. And that is the, to me, self-talk, kind of leading towards that stress thing. If you don't use the words, they can't really become real. So the self-talk is extremely important. I've had a lot of negative self-talk over the years, especially recently, which is strange because it's something that was instilled in me over the last decade or so that I didn't really have so much prior to that. But as I expanded in my world, in my life, and in the bits and pieces that I did around the world and jobs and people I met and things I did like that, it created more negative self-talk. There was negative self-talk around me, and we all tend to be like the 5 people we hang around with the most. So I kind of wasn't really strong enough myself to maintain and keep that away or at bay, I guess is the right way to say it. So it kind of snuck in there, and I found myself being quite negative in my self-talk. Your mind doesn't really know the truth from your thoughts to reality. So how you speak about yourself, how you speak about certain things, how you speak about others, those things are really, really important in my opinion. So self-talk, I think, and how you treat yourself is one of those things. Don't do negative self-talk. Don't do self-harm in a way, not even just physically, but mentally and spiritually. Okay, again, terrible memory. Last one, surface. Okay, so what I meant by surface is the stuff that's just kind of on the surface of what your life is like. Surface level stuff. I mean, it'd be cool to drive a nice car, but that's surface level. A car is enough. It'd be cool to dress nicely, surface level stuff. Just some clothes would be enough. When you set yourself up to be not necessarily impressed by the surface level stuff, you're holding yourself to a level of gratitude to have. I have clothing. Is it the best? Is it color coordinated? Does it fit me perfectly? Maybe not. But I'm grateful for having clothes. The surface stuff, I can accumulate that over time. I can get better stuff, nicer stuff, more fitted stuff as I go along, but it's not that because I don't have that top level surface stuff already from the start. It's not that I don't, or I'm not grateful, but at the same time, it's kind of pushing me to go and, it's like, must have the Louis Vuitton bag or no bag at all. That surface level stuff, don't worry about that. Get rid of that stuff. If you can accumulate, you know, a couple of Louis Vuitton bags and wallets and Gucci shoes and whatever else is cool at the time, that's cool. But don't worry about that stuff too much. Don't put so much emphasis on that's the only bag I need. Those latest Travis Scott Nike came out, I need to go and get it. Look, if you come across them, that's great. I've had some of those really expensive shoes before. Those really cool Louis Vuitton wallets. But I never had them at the beginning when they first came out. I let them sort of find their way into my life. Whether it was through a gift, whether it was through a bonus, and I was able to go and purchase one myself, maybe a few months later for Christmas, on a Black Friday sale, whatever it may be, right? Those things do come around, but I'm not living on that surface level, latest and greatest of everything at all times, and only the surface level stuff is important. Nothing else is important. Stay grateful that you have what you have. Be level-headed and understand that those things, they will come to you. If they're meant for you, they'll come for you at some point, because your spirit and your energy will be aligned, and those things, I believe, as far as the universe is concerned, they're given to you when the time is right, when you are ready to receive. So anyway, those are the S's that I believe you should sort of stay away from, or be on the opposite side of the other stuff, aware of. And I'll run through those quickly with you guys. And that was sadness, sugar, stress, sitting down, snacking, surface level stuff, and self-talk, self-thinking, self-thought, those stuff. I think a little something to talk about just while I'm doing all this rubbish. I'm gonna let you guys go now. Pop over to the stepper. Ain't gonna be talking because that bad boy is gonna hurt. So I'll see you guys in the weights room in about 15 minutes. All right. So, gonna be doing a little bit of arms today, just to get a decent little pump on. I'm between two of my 12 to 16 hour night shifts, the day in between. So I don't tend to do too much too heavy on those days. I'll do them heavy stuff during the week, but on that, the day, I only had about 4 or 5 hours sleep last night, get home at 5 a.m, you know? So this is essentially one of those days that's just a little light recovery type session. So I'll be doing that today, and arms is one of those things I can do that pretty easily. Doesn't seem to be too bad if I just do sort of arm session. I don't necessarily train arms like heavy or anything like in hardcore. So what you'll see me do today is just like a little run through of kind of the exercises that I'll do for arms. Not doing too many. I'll do 2 shoulders. As far as just like lateral raises, nothing shoulder pressing. I'll do 2 lateral raising type exercises. I'll do 2 biceps, 2 triceps, and that's about it. That's all I'll do. Keep it simple, but I'm doing high repetitions, so hopefully sets of around 15, 20, 25. We'll see how we go depending on the weight that I choose. So that's it. Not too much talking. I'll just sort of run you through a little bit of the technique of bits and pieces that I'm doing in between the 2 sets. That way you can sort of see it at first, then reiterate what I say in the second round. So this one is just a lateral raise, but with a bit of a, let me just change this bench, with a little bit of a twist to it. Later soon, but later. Self spot being where you use kinetic energy and a bit of momentum to create a little bit more of an assistance like you would if you were expecting a spotter. Okay, that's kind of how I'll do it. Good. That's kind of how I'll do it, so be aware. I'll talk you through it afterwards, but just for the first part, just watch and enjoy. All right, so I don't know how heavy these things are. These old school dumbbells have the weights written or embossed on the plates, and it's multiple plates. So I can't tell you. There used to be some little stickers written on them as to how much they weigh: 60, 55, 50, 45, 40. So these must be 35s. 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, okay. Something like that. About 30, 35, or 40, I'm not sure, pounds. I can't do lateral raises without that assistance at this weight. And what I'm trying to do is get as much blood as I can into the shoulders to get that blood flow going, get some stimulus happening. It's heavy, it's hard. If I was to do it stuck, stable, oh, okay, I could do maybe one or two if I was just doing them strict like that. But with that momentum, pushing into the ground with my feet, letting that energy go right through my body and bowing up a little bit, which would be how the movement would happen if I needed to lift something heavy for instance, about this weight in real life or in a sport or in movement. I picked up this kind of stuff way back in the day when I was doing a lot of strength training for high-level athletes. I was hired to have a different point of view, have a different eye of looking at, a different way of looking at things, to have a specific eye when I look at movements and sports, specifically movement. And yeah, I question things in my own head as well as to my superiors and to smarter people, more experienced people and older people as well. I get their perspective and then I see if it makes sense to me, because I'll have one of those three types of people I just mentioned, which I respect their opinion of, but they'll actually say something different and contradicting to each other, which goes to tell me that there's an aspect of what they say inside of everything, because they see it as a truth. So therefore it must exist. But for one to exist, it doesn't mean the other one doesn't have to exist. There are multiple truths within a truthful statement or within a truthful exercise or movement pattern. So then it's a matter of applying it at the right time to the right person, and the right timing is important. Like an athlete versus a non-athlete, you might be looking at the same exercise but seeing two different importance on that movement. An athlete would be doing this kind of stuff, in my opinion, if I was training them, 100%. But someone who's a bodybuilder, perhaps not so much. As an ex-athlete that likes bodybuilding, as far as building my body, not necessarily the competition side of the sport of bodybuilding, then yeah, I apply these type of things. I like this kind of stuff. I like bumming around with a little bit of it here and there and old school stuff. Anyway, that's enough talk. I'm going to do a second set. I got 20 out the first round. If I can get 15 or 16 in the second round, I'll be pretty happy with that. So let's see. Oh, okay, so I'm pushing into the ground and I'm lifting. As I'm lifting, I'm still pushing and I'm starting to raise my arms at the same time as I'm pushing through the legs into the ground. I'm lifting the dumbbells up. I'm not using momentum to go and then create momentum again. I'm using one continuous movement. One continuous movement. If I happen to fall short on the fly vertically, I don't try and sit there and wait and then try and get the maximum height. I go with however much I can get out of that push, out of that one fluid movement. And if that's not high enough, I can see in the mirror, I can assist myself. Then I'll push further and harder again the next round, the next repetition, to try and see if I can get to that next level I'm trying to get to, right? So I'm not trying to sit and get this perfect level and parallel to the floor lateral raise. If I can't get it out of the push, if I can't get it out of that one fluid movement, I just adjust and fix it on the next rep. It may take 2 or 3 reps for me to be able to get that all the way up, or I might get it in the next rep. Let's see. But I must continue to keep thinking like that, because otherwise, as you've seen the heavy ass weights, I need to have that full connection, that full fluid power from the kinetic energy. Otherwise, I can't lift it without it. So anyway, quick run through. Okay. So I found myself on the last 2 reps there, doing a little double pump at the bottom. So instead of using the momentum going down to create that pump coming up, I was coming down and then double pumping before, by doing a little bit of a pause and going back down again. That tells me that that whole kinetic energy movement pattern is a little bit fatigued. So I saw the first time happen on rep 16. Tried to get rid of it on 17, didn't work. So I put the weight down. I was chasing 20. I think I had it in my arms. But my arms needed the momentum of my body. And that didn't happen. So I'll do it like that. Keep it like that. Right, there's 2 relatively heavy sets. So what I might do here is just change it up a little bit from what I said earlier. And I'll do 1 set of lighter weight, slower, more contracting type movement, but with the same exercise. So I'll end up doing a 3rd set. All right, so I just won't do too much momentum stuff. I'll just keep it relatively simple from here. Slow contracting. Okay. 15. All right. So there's a little bit of movement with my back, but nothing too crazy. Not too much kinetic energy transfer movement through the whole body there. Just more sort of an isolated shoulder lateral raise, but with a little bit of that momentum from the low back and the rear, the posterior fascia. Salt. Put 2 grams of salt with water and my pre-workout drink. I had a protein shake and a coffee. earlier this morning. Decaf coffee. Hence why I took a little bit of a pre-workout with salt. The pre-workout I use is 5150, which is pretty hardcore, but I got recommended by Barry here. And I take maybe a quarter of the scoop that's in the container itself. Just a tiny little bit, almost a little bit of flavor to mask the salt flavor, which is not that bad. I'm getting used to the salt flavor of water anyway, but yeah, it's pretty good. You get a nice big pump, blood flow. Salt helps the blood flow. Blood flow is essentially what a pump and a high from working out is. This one just doesn't have the stimulation based around some of these other bits and pieces that you get, these other chemicals inside these pre-workout drinks, which taste like, you know, watermelon, candy, raspberry, blueberry, bomb, bath, whatever. Don't really get into those too much. As long as they do their job. Not really interested in the flavor so much. Okay, I'll do some bicep curls. I'll do these standing. Okay, just a quick adjustment in the on the camera, and I'll do on this one. I'll do a little bit of the opposite of the other one. Well, I'll warm into it, going a little lighter to start with, something in the middle, medium weight, and then something a little heavier near the end. I'll go 3 sets, same thing. So bear in mind, I'll do the first set just to get a bit of a pump and all that kind of jazz, and then talk you through, the things that I look out for and how I do the way that I do it. Don't know the weights. Again, just grab the weights and see what happens. All right, nice and warm. Definitely feeling the blood in the arms there. There's not much to a bicep curl except for, I believe, shoulder position. So the shoulder girdle is the most important part because that's where the biceps are pulling from. Biceps are attached to the shoulder area. The weight is at the arm. So the biceps kind of in the middle of those two points. If you're strict with your wrist and not letting your wrist flop around, and you're holding the weight with a decent amount of grip, and you have some form and function and some strength at the wrist itself, then you got to make sure you incorporate it into the shoulder girdle itself, where the bicep is pulling from. So that then is where I will do a little bit of a twist, because as I twist, I'm looking at pulling it back. My body twists to get the dumbbell out of the way of the arm, because I don't like going out wide. That hurts my elbow personally, so it's more of a twist just to get the dumbbell in front of my thigh, and from there I can just come up. Now you'll see my body twist, but my arm doesn't. My arm doesn't start turning across the body. It's still staying relatively square. I'll face you guys on this one so you can see what I mean there, instead of the my roar, and then we'll be able to sort of adjust that. You'll be able to see the adjustments for the second, for the third set. So I'll go up, I went this, I'll go here, then I'll face you guys so you can see what I mean as far as the twist is concerned. So a little twist just to get the dumbbell out of the way, but the plane of which the arm is lifting, the forearm, is still square and straight to you guys. Okay. So the endurance part of it is something that I don't enjoy. I'd rather just do heavy, hardcore and fewer reps, but I am not trying to bulk up, get any bigger, create too much damage on the muscle, too much stress on the muscle to try and promote more growth. If I get a little stronger out of having longer repetitions, I'll get some muscle endurance a little bit instead of pure power and strength. That's fine. I'm trying to decrease the circumference of myself in all these little bits and pieces so as to fit clothing properly. That's just my own little personal goal. I'm trying to stay a little bit lighter as far as the low back and the knees is concerned too. It's been too many years where my knees have suffered in general, on top of having too much weight. So being a little lighter is kind of important to me at the moment. So I'm sticking to that. If I get lose a little bit more body fat, that'll help get rid of some weight and the circumference I'm talking about without affecting too much any of the muscle, because I do enjoy having a little bit of muscle and strength. Definitely looks better, shapes and fits better. I feel better. So as they say, look good, feel good, train good, play good, whatever it is. Something like that. I do enjoy that side of things. So I'm gonna go a little heavier. I'm gonna skip an extra. So I went up from one dumbbell on the rack to the next. I'm gonna skip the next one and go to the next one over and do a bit more of a heavier set. I'll try and aim for about 10 to 12 on this. See how we go. Getting a decent little pump out of it now, so I'm feeling it. I believe. All right, 3 sets, standing bicep curl with a little bit of rotation, a little bit of momentum. Done and dusted. I'm gonna go with a tricep pull down over here, so I'll move the camera over for you guys. We'll do a cable push down. That'll then be the 3rd exercise in the group of 6. I'll try and do the other 3 on the machines. So 2 dumbbells and a cable for the first round, more loose, utilizing all of the shoulder girdle, all the little stabilizing muscles inside because of their balance or imbalance, then going and isolating because of fatigue into a machine and getting more of a squeeze and a mind muscle connection without the small muscles that stabilize the shoulders and the elbows and stuff. Without them fatiguing and creating poor form, I'm able to squeeze out a little bit more in the muscle that I'm trying to train. That's why I'm doing it like that, free weights first round and machines second round. So I'll readjust. See you guys there. Rightio. So, not a big fan of the rope, personally. So I'm gonna grab the bar and just turn off to the side a little bit so you guys can see. So with the tricep, I ain't trying to do too much fanciness. Get rid of all this crap. Just, I bow a little bit just for stabilizing. I keep the elbows tucked in and just straighten out from there. That's what we're doing. Keeping it easy, keeping it simple. Squeeze at the bottom. It's not too heavy. There's a little bit of resistance on it. I tend to start quite light on my first set of triceps because of an elbow tightness, I guess I have. You'll see in this one as well, as I put it up in weight, when it gets a little heavier, there is this little bounce thing that I do where I kind of push into the ground by letting my knees soften up. So your knees are holding yourself from basically falling to the ground. Gravity's going to pull you down. So if I loosen my knees by just switching them off for a split second, my body falls to the ground. It's only for a minute split second, but as that happens, then the lock of the legs and the muscles, when you sort of catch yourself from falling, when you turn all the muscles back on, creates a bouncing effect, like almost like a trampoline bounce, like you're going down and all of a sudden you start popping back up. That's quite a lot of kinetic energy. If I'm just standing still and trying to push into the ground without a drop, there isn't any push back up. So it's kind of like doing a squat. You have to go down first in order to be able to push back up. You can't just do a squat from an already standing position. So that's what you'll see. I kind of quickly just turn my muscles off for a split second so that my body starts to drop down. Then I reconnect it all, push into the ground, and I get that kinetic energy, shot of energy straight up through my body, through my legs all the way through, and then connecting it through into the tricep, because I'm thinking about it, but that shot of energy is important. So you'll see that in the movement, and if that's kind of strange to you or weird or doesn't sort of make sense, just so you know, that's what it is. Whether you understand what my description was or not, I apologize if you don't, but that's what it is. I let myself drop a little bit, then push back up. But it's so small that you won't really see it. It just seems like I'm bouncing or doing some sort of weird little movement like that, but that's what's happening. And I do that as the weights get heavier. So that's why I'm warning you guys. So I'm not doing it now, but near the end of the set, it might start to creep in. Probably more than likely in the third set for sure. Okay, I've started doing it there. You can see it's just part of the habit. I don't really consciously do it or think about it, it just happens. All right, that burns like you wouldn't believe. Last one be relatively heavy. I'm fairly strong on the triceps regarding strength in general. Triceps are pretty decent. So I will utilize a decent amount of weight to fatigue myself on that third set for sure. Be aware a bit more of that, as I said, little drop, that little movement. You'll probably see a little bit more here. The reps will be a little slower as well, so maybe that'll help. Take a quick drink of water and get right back into it. Okay. Literally tricep pump up. Okay. Head over to, what do we got there? Lateral shoulder raise machine. And see you guys there. This is enough for cables. All right. So, 2 sets of this bad boy. This is the Body Masters MD 321 lateral raise. Yeah. Crazy machine. I like it, I enjoy it. I think it's one of the more important ones because it's very much structured in a way where you can't really move too much. You're kind of locked into place with the handles here with the bar for your hands, and the elbows don't tend to move up and down on the plate. They kind of stay stuck where they are based on the fact that your arms are extended and holding onto the bar. my chest is on the chest plate and my feet are kind of sitting bent behind me. That way I'm pushing into the plate with my chest. That way I'm kind of stuck and stable from there. With these machines, you can't really shift your body too much because the plane of movement is kind of isolated into generally one plane, possibly sometimes two on some machines, but this one is one plane only. So the only thing they can do as far as moving my muscle or my joint any different is if I'm moving my muscle inside the machine, so to speak, like as I'm fitted to the machine, if I move, then that happens. But that won't happen because I'll make sure of that. But otherwise, that's essentially wireless machines. You can just sit there and isolate the muscle you want. And I do them at the end. If you're doing machines only, then do machines only. They're great. I'm a big fan of them. But incorporate some dumbbells and barbells at some point. If you're doing dumbbells and barbells a lot, try isolating at the end, maybe the last exercise or the last round of exercises with some machines just to isolate. Because as this, for this machine, specifically for these exercises, as the shoulder joint stabilizes with the little stabilizing muscles, they can fatigue out pretty quickly because they're not as strong, they're not as big. So if I can get rid of them in some capacity, in some manner, by going to a machine where they don't need to be doing as much work, then they can chill and my body will actually allow me to use a bit more energy in just the big moving of the prime superficial muscles, which is what this is: shoulders, lateral, superficial. Let's go super. Talking too much. So stable, chest up, feet back, hold, and up. Okay, 15. That hurt. Whoa, it's still burning. Getting that super slow little burn at the end there. I like it, I enjoy it, that's why I'm here. That's what I keep telling myself anyway, right? Isolation shoulder exercises I found to be quite useful and helpful for me. I had a lot of shoulder injuries playing a lot of volleyball when I was younger, and I wasn't really able to do too much shoulder work in the gym. I stayed away from it out of fear of hurting it, to the point where just this tiny little tweak would keep me from a volleyball court for, you know, games and training, which I loved so much. I'd train other parts of my body and stay away from the shoulder stuff, just so I had access to be able to do more and more with, you know, technically speaking, the game situation stuff. So that's what I was doing. That's why I stayed away. So I like these machines because they help me with that. Right, I'm gonna switch out the battery on this camera, so the view might change a little bit, but just bear in mind that's what's happening, because it's flashing at me now. And then I'll get my second set out of the way. So see you guys in a sec. It's been about a minute and a half, so that's enough rest. Let's get the second set out of the way and then move on to that next one. Whoa. Hey. Oh. Oh yeah. Right, so these tricep machines, I kind of enjoy. They're kind of rare. It's rare to find them in gyms. They have these new modern versions that kind of work a little bit, but not quite the same as these old school ones. I like the old school ones a little bit more. So I'll jump on, do my first set. I know I'm doing bicep triceps out of order from the previous dumbbell section, but there's somebody on the one bicep machine that I like over there. Plus this one is essentially just next door. So I'm being a little efficient in my movements. Okay, I'm leaning back on this with the bench and I'm pushing back with my feet. So just pushing down like I would a dip, making sure the wrist position is directly underneath the shoulder and not too far behind me in this position. I keep it underneath and then leaning back. Not going up too high because that will blow out the shoulder a little bit. And I'm pushing into the ground. My hands are slipping a little bit from the sweat. Let's do 4, 3, 2, 1 more. Whoa. All right, so dried off the hands a little bit there. I'm gonna pop this bad boy down to a little bit more and get my second set out. You might see my bum come off the ground on this one, or off the seat a little bit. Be aware that's just because I'm pushing into the ground quite sternly, quite strongly, in order to keep my hands in the right position and not slipping off, because I'm down so low that the angle of this at the bottom is kind of facing down, so my hands are sort of slipping off. A little bit old school, this grip's a little bit worn through. All right. I just stand to set my hands up a little better rather than trying to adjust them at the bottom. Then I'll just drop my body weight. Oh. One more. Good luck. Oh. Okay, so that's kind of heavy. It's doing what it should be doing. It's working. So I'm happy with that. Looks like the bicep machine is free over there, so I'm pop over there, get my last set done, and that'll be it for a quick little arm pump session today. So nice and quick, not much to say about these machines. They're pretty self-explanatory. If it feels wrong, just switch up a little bit, try it out. Everyone's a little bit different based on their ailments, injuries, and bits and pieces. So for me, not an issue. I hope it's not an issue for you guys too. See you guys on the bicep machine for the last exercise. Okay, these little machines here are interesting. They're I think it's Hoist Fitness makes these, and they got quite a few little machines based in this little particular manner, how it kind of elevates the whole machine moves as you pull, so you're not gonna stay stuck. You'll see what I mean. As I'm pulling the bicep curl section of the machine up, the seat in the preacher section here is actually going to be moving with me. So this should be relatively interesting. It's like I'm going for a little bit of a ride at the same time, but the other machine is out of order. Someone's using it. There's one other, but it uses cables. So you're seated, but it uses cables, so they're like small little dumbbell, little cable machines. And I don't want to use the cable, I want to use something a bit more stable. Typically, I wouldn't use these hoist machines too much. For no reason, just I like the more stable, old school metal ones a little bit more, but since it's out of commission for this one, I'm gonna try this. I've never actually done this machine. I've done some hoist bicep curl machines, but not this one. So, it should be fun. Okay, I'll go a little closer with my grip. Some elbows are slightly pointing in, about 70 degrees, 75 degrees. I'm using this slightly angled down grip. So it would be, instead of parallel to the ground, it would be sort of angled that way. So I'm using that part of the grip. I won't be using hammer and I won't be using wide, so kind of in on that angle. As I'm pulling up, I'm trying to connect my mind to the bicep and squeeze the bicep as if I'm doing a bicep pose. I'm standing in the mirror and doing a bicep pose and trying to flex the bicep. That's what I'm trying to do at the top of the movement versus just pushing and pulling the machine and the movement. I'm just trying to flex the bicep, but with resistance. Okay, that's the mind muscle connection I'm talking about. I don't need a big weight for that. It may look like it's 245s, but because of the way the hoist system works, it's
relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but it's not as heavy as it looks. Okay. Finished flex. There is a little pivot point that's marked on the machine where your elbow should go, because that's the pivoting joint, and that's exactly where I'm aligned at. Didn't mention it earlier. Flex. Come on. Flex. Okay.
My Instagram is the same name. If anyone wants to follow me for bits and pieces there. I show a little bit more lifestyle and what I do on a single everyday basis, more workouts. I'm in the gym 4, 5, 6 times a week, sometimes twice a day. Yeah, I show a little bit of how I eat and what I eat sometimes too. That's not my big thing, but I pop it in every once in a while. If someone has questions, you can ask on there. I like to make little videos and stuff in there too, so people can see what's going on and to get that encouragement to do something, to start something, just to push. I'm just here to encourage and get you guys going, get off the couch and into the gym doing some exercises. I don't really care what exercise you train, what rep ranges you use, how many sets, the technical part of things, I'll leave that up to somebody else to do. Been there, done that, don't see much point in it. For me personally, and as I said a million times, I am just showing you guys what I do. I am not trying to teach you guys what to do. I'm not telling you this is right or wrong. I'm just showing you what I do. Taking you guys on a journey with me, talking you through it, showing you techniques, tips, tricks, what I've learned over the 25 years of doing sports, coaching, trainer, and training. I've picked up a few bits and pieces along the way, and as I get older, as I'm 45, in a week or 2 weeks, I don't want to start losing any of this. If you don't use it, you lose it. And I feel like if I just at least bring it back to the surface by teaching and talking to you guys through it, then at least it can sort of stay a little bit more in the front part of my mind and keep it there, so I can help you guys with anything and everything that I can help you guys with. Yeah, aging is one of those things we can't do anything about. And so is procrastinating. Rah. Oh, one more big squeeze. Come on, bro. Oh, I got one more. And broken phone. Okay. That one tickled, especially that last one. I was able to wait for a split second there and gather a little bit of the strength I needed at that halfway mark to be able to finish off the rest of the rep. So if you're able to do that, go for it. Don't try and do that if you're on your way down. If the machine is pushing you and you're not pushing it, then maybe just resist it as long as you can and let it go down slowly, get an eccentric contraction out of it. But I was able to hold isometrically, which means not moving at all, but still using muscle. And once I was able to do that, I rested enough that I was able to pump out that last little, whatever, 50% of the movement, 40% of the movement. So yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this gym session. I appreciate you guys being with me. If you could like, subscribe, comment, ask all the questions in the comment section. You can reach out on the same name as this channel on Instagram. Happy to answer any questions and do any little recommended videos if you guys have anything you want to know or learn or anything you want me to teach. If I am able to teach it, I'll do it. But yeah, this is I think the 9th video. I appreciate you guys being on the journey with me. I'm starting to learn a little bit. I'm watching my own videos during the editing process. I edit them all myself, not that there's much editing because I kind of like to keep it real and raw. But I am seeing myself mumbling. I am hearing myself stumbling. I am hearing myself say a lot and a couple other bits and pieces, which I write down and then try not to do those things in the next video. I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to progress with this. This is very rare and hard for me to be on a camera like this. I'm a bit shy with it. I'm not as the same generation of the young kids who can get this stuff out like that. It's unbelievable how much they do. I'm a little envious of it, but I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to keep up with the times and get things going. As I said, I'm keeping it raw and real and trying to keep you guys as much information as I can so that I don't die with it, because it is an absolute waste of time otherwise. So I appreciate you being there with me, and thanks so much. If you could share it and get it out there, that'd be great. The more people we can help, the better. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Until then, stay addicted.